We did our project on physics of gymnastics.
Floor basic facts. Floor is a gymnastics event where gymnasts perform many different skills on a 40 feet squared square. It is covered by some sort of cloth, usually carpet-like material, and underneath it contains plywood and springs. Many skills are performed within a 1 to 2 minute floor routine. Each level has different requirements, but all levels have to include at least a leap, a jump, a turn, 2 tumbling passes, and some sort of dance elements within the routine. Newton's first law of motion states that an object will stay in motion unless acted by another force. This means that if an object is in motion, the object will not stop unless another force is applied. In gymnastics, the first rule in tumbling is that a tumbling pass will stay in motion unless a performance factor is violated, meaning that if you start out a pass with a lot of speed, power, body tightness, and body shapes, the skill will be performed well, or vice versa. If these are violated, the skill will not be executed well. Newton's second law of motion states that a force is equal to mass times acceleration. I know it sounds like a math equation, but in words it means that an object's change in motion is directly proportional to the applied force. In the second rule of gymnastics law of tumbling, it states, the force of the tumbling pass is equally dependent on the mass of the gymnast times the speed. This means that the gymnast must start out very powerful to generate enough speed and force to perform the skill. Most skills start out with a rounded back handspring because this is a pretty simple skill for most gymnasts, and it will generate enough speed and force to be able to perform the tumbling pass. Newton's third law of motion states that every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This means whenever two things interact, the amount of force they put in will be the same. And in the third rule in gymnastics law of tumbling is that any surface you tumble on will give the exact same force you put into the spring floor. This means that if you tumble with a lot of force on the spring floor, it will give you enough spring to help you achieve that skill. And the same goes with any type of tumbling surface such as grass or hard.
The next floor skill we are going to be talking about is a round-up back handspring full. A full is a back or front layout, but you twist 360 degrees on the air. So the physics of a full. Newton's 3 laws of motion help explain the round-up back handspring and the full, but not the execution of the skill itself. To achieve a full, a gymnast must start with a torque, which is a twisting force that causes rotation, but the gymnast must exert this force as they jump because they cannot exert it in the air. However, once a gymnast leaves the ground with angular momentum, which is executing the layout, adding a twist can be done without adding any extra torque if the angular momentum stays constant. The angular momentum stays constant at the beginning, but the gymnast must make their body non-symmetrical to produce both the twist and flip, which makes the angular momentum unconstant. The next floor skill we are going to be talking about is a cartwheel. This is a beginner gymnastics skill. The skill is executed with a lunge to a side handstand to rotation back to your feet. As many coaches will say, hand, hand, foot, foot. The physics of a cartwheel. A cartwheel is a rotation, so torque force is used by the gymnast. Newton's 3 laws also apply to this skill. Once completely upside down, the gymnast must keep their center of mass, which is their body, being evenly distributed in all directions, or else they will fall over.
Uneven bars basic facts. The uneven bars are 2 bars that are parallel to each other but set at different heights. The lower bar is usually 5 feet above the ground, while the high bar is 8 feet high. The bar routine can be anywhere from 15 seconds to a little longer than 1 minute long. The bar routine must have at least a mount and a dismount. The bar skill I'm going to explain are giants. A giant is a higher level skill where the gymnast circles around an axis in a fully extended body shape, usually on the high bar. The gymnast usually starts out with a kip cast handstand. From the handstand, the gymnast is building up potential energy. As he or she swings down, the potential energy will be converted into kinetic energy. The athlete would use momentum from swinging down as he or she taps to get back onto the bar into a handstand position. Newton's third law of motion plays a big role for this skill because for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. As the gymnast pulls down on the bar with a lot of force, therefore the bar comes back with an equal and opposite force. It will make it possible for the gymnast to be able to go back on top of the bar. Gravity is also pulling on the gymnast as well.
The next bar skill we'll be talking about is a back hip circle. This is a beginner gymnastics skill. The way that this is executed is that a gymnast will cast into a hollow position. The higher the cast, the more power you receive, so the cast should be at least 180 degrees. Once they get to the cast of 180 degrees, they will begin to come back down, and they will swing their hip around the bar, and their legs will come to the other side. This skill helps lead up to the skill clear hips, which is needed for higher levels. The physics of a back hip circle is explained by Newton's third law, which states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So this allows the pull on the bar to push the gymnast over the bar. Momentum is also used to force the gymnast around the bar. You must cast high enough to get enough momentum around, or you will not get around. The next bar skill we are going to be talking about is the full dismount. This dismount is a front layout with a twist after you let go of the bar. Physics of a full bar dismount. Just as on floor, the twist can be explained by torque and angular momentum. However, this dismount is going to be explained by velocity. When the gymnast first lets go of the bar, her horizontal velocity is 0. As she comes down, her potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. When she lands her feet on the mat under her, they work together to bring her energy back to 0. Vault basic facts. Vault is a gymnastics event that is competed by both men and women. They run on the vault runway, which is approximately 82 feet long. However, the gymnast chooses how far they would like to run. At the end of the runway, there's a springboard to boost the gymnast's jump and the vault table. The vault table is placed at different heights depending on the gymnast and the skill that they are competing. Routines last about 30 seconds, and each gymnast gets 2 attempts to complete their skill.
The vault skill I'm going to talk about is called a half-on, half-off. I'm going to talk about this in 3 different sections: the approach, the physics of the springboard, and the physics of the actual skill. The approach. The gymnast must generate enough speed for maximum velocity by sprinting down the vault runway. Physics of a springboard. When the gymnast jumps onto the springboard, they exert a downward motion. This will compress the springs into the springboard to allow the gymnast to have an extra height to execute the skill. Physics of the half-on, half-off. Since gravity is a downwards force, the gymnast must exert an upwards force when approaching the vault table. According to Newton's third law of motion, when the gymnast hits the springboard, he or she will create an upwards force, and the forces will be equal, making the athlete be able to propel into the air. After the gymnast jumps onto the springboard, he or she will start to do a half twist, then put their hands on the vault table for a rebound. Once again, putting their hands down on the vault will give them the power to twist off because of Newton's third law of motion.
Beam basic facts. Beam is a wooden plank covered by suede or leather. It's 4 inches wide, 16 feet and 5 inches long, and 4 feet off of the floor. Routines last between 1 minute to 1 minute 30 seconds, and they involve a mount, dismount, tumbling pass, jumps, and leaps. Physics of balance. To execute any skill on beam and not fall, a gymnast must understand where their center of gravity is. All objects, people, and animals act as if their mass is all concentrated in one spot, which is known as our center of gravity. In women, it is in our hips, and in men, it is in their chest. So if you begin to fall, you want to correct yourself in those areas. You want your center of gravity to always be above your feet, or you begin to fall over, especially the more you lean over. An example of a skill that uses just balance is the scale.
As the gymnast stands and prepares for the skill, she has all potential energy. When gymnast swings back, using their arms, and push off the beam with their feet, using kinetic energy and Newton's second and third laws of motion, along with gravitational and angular momentum. The gymnast then will put her hands down on the beam using momentum to push off the beam to stand up.
Bye!